Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Beyer here from GAI Insights, and welcome to our daily GenAI executive briefing, where we discuss and rate top news items. Today is December 27th, and our team of analysts will rate each article as essential, important, or optional for the executives at companies. Today's briefing is sponsored by GAI Insights, and Tim will lead our discussion. Go ahead, Tim.
Morning, everybody. Ankash, can you bring up the first article, please?
Sure, Tim. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Now we see it.
Okay. So the first news update that we have for today is from Microsoft Copilot. So Microsoft Copilot is now available as a ChatGPT-like app on Android.
So channeling my inner Paul, does anybody see anything but optional here? It's an interesting announcement. I think,
again,
yeah, go ahead.
I actually rated it important, and I think I was being a bit generous because the news has been quiet lately. I think we had all optional stories yesterday, and I have a couple of the ones today optional as well. So it just indicates it's another free access to GPT-4.
Right.
I think it's going to increase and spread the adoption, and it's important for people to understand, like another floodgate has opened here, in the broader landscape.
It's a good point, and also it's enterprise chat basically. So one presumes they will rapidly integrate this into their Azure secure offerings for enterprises, which will be important. It's just Android for right now. Paul, John, any comments?
No, I think we're going to see cross-subsidy of these things by Microsoft's core business, which is a great business, right? And so I'd say optional.
Okay. Okay, we'll go with optional.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. So next one is from Anthropic. So Anthropic is forecasting that it will have more than $850 million in revenue by 2024 end.
Paul, you posted on LinkedIn about this, I believe, yesterday, right?
Yeah, my Missouri show me Spidey sense are up on this. I don't believe this at all. So, OpenAI stated OpenAI did 1.3 billion this year. They were named as a leader in a buyer's guide. We know dozens and dozens of large companies that have used OpenAI directly and through Azure as offering. We know dozens of people in our community that paid $20 a month. And I don't think I could name more than 2-3 people who are paying personally for the $20 a month for their pro. And we have not spoken with, even as part of our research, an enterprise customer using it. So I think there's a lot of rounding up, and I think Menlo's playing the momentum game for the next round. And
Sure.
I want to be proven wrong. So throwing a stake in the cloud, it's a bit controversial, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm there. I mean, the two magic words: annualized, end of 24. Right.
Right. The classic hockey stick.
Classic hockey stick. Yeah. No. Look, if they need to, Amazon, their investors can throw a couple $100 million worth of demand to these guys if they want to. So I'm not, they'll be there, and so Amazon could throw them a couple $100 million for the revenue easily. Just, hey, we're using their model for this, that, and the other thing. So I'm not worried about. They'll do well, but this is BS.
So are you saying therefore it's optional?
Yeah,
or that
it's optional. It's just a fundraising umbrella. Hey, we need this valuation.
I'd agree it's optional, but let me rephrase it in a way that makes it a little more clear. Anthropic states a year from now, they still won't have caught up to where OpenAI is now.
Yeah.
That's basically what they're announcing.
Annualized at the end of next year.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Right. This is a valuation play to get as high a valuation as they can for a current fundraising round.
And I think Menlo wants to fill out the rest of the round for the $700 million they're raising, so or 850 or whatever it is.
That's all.
Yep. Price
Optional.
justification. Okay. Optional. Next.
Okay, next one is from Macro's Reply. So they have launched a new framework for automated and intelligent input management with generative AI.
Yeah. In the words of Paul, Barney Burger here, or whatever. I mean, product announcement, great. Yeah. Framework, thank you.
Yep. Agreed. Pretty much just announcement. Interesting. We'll see if it gets traction in the market. Optional.
Yep.
Any other comments? Okay. Next on Kaj.
Okay. The next one is from DataStack. So they have unveiled Swifty GPT. So it's a Taylor Swift inspired chatbot, and they are using a vector database, RAG, and a few other things to sort of do this.
I think we're going to see a lot. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of these. I'd say important just in the sense of any mega brand or human being or other stuff is going to have, it's the beginning, it's the birth of the robots, robot representatives. And it's going to be, agents are going to be real for once. So, yeah.
Yep, I agree. I was going to say important for that reason. And also, again, I'm going to pound on the table about my belief that we are at a serious inflection point so early in the process where we're going to see broad deployment of applications. This is just an application at one level, is one way to think about it. And it's production. Taylor Swift is going to attract millions and millions, maybe billions this is like a Spotify kind of thing, right? So this is not a toy. It's a toy in the sense of what it is, but it's not a toy in the sense of what they're attempting to do with it. We'll see.
Is this an official one, or is this, she behind this, or is this
Wasn't clear. Didn't sound like it, to tell you the truth. It sounded like, as my friends in the intelligence community say, open source information.
Yeah. Remember the early days of the internet, there was a whole, I think there's still a little bit, the official site of Bon Jovi or some big band or something versus unofficial sites. And you can certainly see this with the Taylor Swift.
Right. And there are official versions that already use various brands as ChatGPT kind of things. And I'm sure eventually we'll even have the interesting thing will be when Mickey and Minnie and the Little Mermaid and characters like that who are already artificial become intelligent.
So isn't it inevitable then that in a world where we have hundreds or millions of robots, avatars for Disney characters and real people and fake people, that they will also then start competing with themselves for, how does this thing not just spin out of control? How does the internet just exponentially just go through the roof with all this free content out there?
I think that's what will happen. And that's been an argument from the beginning is great. Now I can generate 10,000 blog posts in 2 minutes. Okay. So that just means there are 10,000 more blog posts from everybody. How is your blog post going to get any more attention than the old blog posts? If anything, less attention now because there are that many more available. So then you get an arms race. You will get agents that start to read the production of other agents. And
that's really interesting. So does that mean if I'm a really CEO-based internet thing, I may see a real deterioration of click-through rates on banner ads and through Google? And Google's going to try to rate. I still try scrub all this, right, or crawl all of
that. Is unclear, but it's certainly one possibility. That's why I think Google declared code red right away, because they saw that. They saw the imminent threat to the advertising model.
Yeah. The other thing is that a lot of Google's valuation, you shave off some of their growth and their valuation collapses a lot. They're still wealthy and generating tons of dough, but they go from being worth over $1 trillion to being worth $500 billion, right? And so the other thing is that in a world of surplus, content, attention is a scarce resource, right? A lot of people have said that. talked about before that I think there's three new kinds of capital: behavioral capital, network capital, and cognitive capital. And to the extent that these agents collect those on large groups of people or lots of roles and buying events, whoever's first in the demand chain wins. So if it's the agent getting your attention and collecting that data, then you win. And whether that's Google or Microsoft or whoever it is, and because if you're a person in the demand chain, you broker that relationship at a price.
Right.
Google does it at advertising. Esurance does it with referral fees.
Correct.
And John, keep
And
going
I-
with that. So I think it's not only the rise of the avatars, but it's also the rise of the influencers, digital and real.
Yeah, but distribution still matters. I mean, that's why Microsoft. The valuations of the people who have those relationships already, and somebody's got a credit card. It's big. That's one of Apple's biggest assets. All those credit cards they have in Apple Pay. It's too bad they haven't got anybody who can invent anything. I mean, if Steve Jobs were around, what would they be doing? If Walt Disney was around, you tell me Walt Disney wouldn't be all over this? I mean, Iger's sitting there, whatever, fighting Ron DeSantis and every other freaking thing. But think about what Walt Disney would do with this. Are you kidding me? I mean, look what he did with animatronics, with ancient robot technology. He'd be in your face with all kinds of agents.
Yeah, I think there's likely to be a radical change. One of the things I think that nobody is really thinking about, maybe you are, John, and is the shift from capture to engagement, by which
Right.
I mean, so
Exactly.
right now, Google attempts to capture you. So they do everything they can to avoid you leaving their search page and going to another page because they monetize that much more effectively through advertisements on their own page. So they want to keep you, but they do it basically by preventing you from going, maybe politely by displaying somebody else's webpage within their webpage or doing other things to try and keep you engaged. Same thing with Facebook. Now, all of a sudden, you have Taylor Swift at the head of the chain saying, oh, let me help you out here, or your favorite character, right? Which they can figure out pretty quickly. And all of a sudden you have an engaging and entertaining presence that is at the tip of the tip of the spear. And that person is engaging you. They're not forcing you, they're engaging you. And if it's done well, that's going to capture a lot of attention. It's a lot easier to keep people where they are in a conversation than by trapping them in a corral. Different model.
One thing I'll add, because they are in our buyer's guide, is that Cohere is the AI technology that's being used here. It is mentioned in the article.
That's right.
So that's interesting to make note of.
More evidence, right? More evidence that there will be a lot of build on these models like Mistral, Cohere, and the others that we identified. Yeah, it's not going to all be OpenAI, but OpenAI is still the clear leader.
Yeah, I mean, own your content, own your audience, leverage the vendors for engagement.
Okay.
It's important.
But
Sounds like.
important. So next, Ankash.
Yep. So the next one is from Rebyte.ai. So it's an idea to GenAI app platform. So basically you draw your idea and it will convert that into a web app and which will be connected to AI agents on the platform.
So I'll take this one as a start. I could be argued into important, but I'm going to say it's optional because it's yet another product announcement by a vendor. The interesting thing, it's sort of to me like, why hasn't this happened already a dozen times? But it's a true no-code interface. And again, I think this is going to be one of the revolutions, is that average, quote unquote, people, John, who's not average, but average in terms of his programming skill or maybe below average, can suddenly create pretty sophisticated programs.
Yeah. I mean, back in the 80s, we talked about uppercase and lowercase, right? Computer-aided software engineering at the spec level, and then lowercase in terms of, compiling it into compilable code.
Right.
And that's what we're finally getting case, right?
No, it's actually different. I think what's happening here is it's disposable. It's so easy and cheap to build these things. You don't even need to worry about the engineering. You just build it. And if you don't like it, you throw it away and build another one tomorrow.
Well, yeah, that was some of the problems of case. You just draw the shit out and it would spit it out.
Couldn't track it.
Actually, cost of production's come down so much that your ability to do this stuff. Yeah. The other thing, it's an explosion in end user, it's an explosion in user programming, right? And we won't use that language.
Exactly. This is my analogy to the spreadsheet, where the spreadsheet exploded front office use of computers, because all of a sudden people who weren't COBOL programmers could make use of pretty complex applications effectively. That's what a spreadsheet is.
Yeah. And Dan, you and I both know Dan Bricklin pretty well, right? And when Dan was designing it, he said it's a matrix programming language.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But nobody calls themselves a programmer who uses it. Nobody will call themselves a programmer who uses this, but effectively that's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
But Tim, keep going with the control aspect, though. So if you and I are in the IT department at Ford Motor Company, and now we have thousands of people in the creating their own apps. It's
They're gonna hate it. The first reaction to this kind of thing is we're out of control, and there's some truth to that. Security will be difficult, but it's, again, just like spreadsheets and client server computing. If you remember that, when front end analyst tools came about, generally speaking, the IT organization is very centralized and wants super lockdown control, and at a first order with good reason, because they have a lot to watch, right, from a security perspective. Then it becomes more bureaucratic beyond that. But the reality is you can't do anything about it. This is what I kept telling people in the 90s is, you can create a new green screen application on your COBOL mainframe, but that's not what your user's experience is comparative to. Your user is experiencing Visual Basic applications on Microsoft Windows. And if you aren't comparable to that, you're losing. They're going to go get those Visual Basic applications because they're much easier to use. And we're going to have the same thing here. You can say what you want about, it's out of control and we can't secure it. The users aren't going to care because their productivity is so much higher. And their comparator is ChatGPT. So unless you are at the level of ChatGPT, they're going to say, I'm just going to go get ChatGPT because it's so much better.
Yeah, generative AI is an IT manager's nightmare. They finally get hold of the stack and cloud and all that other stuff, and this is just bang, whole new way of end user stuff. It's going to be all over the place.
So and it's possible. Again, we got, ultimately the IT shops dealt with Visual Basic and client server and all that stuff, but it was a immune reaction for a good bit of time.
So what's our rating, Tim?
I think this is optional because it's important in the grander sense of there will be more and more of these tools, but this is one particular tool making one particular announcement. It's just like the other one we saw from Reply, I think it was, that's announced a new tool. More interesting in that there's zero coding going on here, but unclear how far it's going to get in the marketplace.
So Ankash, I think it's the last article, correct?
Yes, Paul.
Great. So thanks everyone. Have a great day.